In this video, we're going to talk about teeth in the Hmong language. I try to collect everything I can about the anatomy of teeth, things related to teeth, vocabulary related to teeth, as if you were going to go into a dentist appointment and needed to speak Hmong, or as myself as an interpreter, sometimes I need vocabulary that the dentist uses or the patient uses. So I tried to cover as much as I could, and we'll go over that together in this video, the vocabulary both in white and green Hmong. So let's get into it. Let's start at the beginning, which is the word for tooth. So for a single tooth, there are a couple different ways you could say it. You can just say nia, nia. That's the word for tooth or teeth. If you were to classify that, one tooth would be tu. So tu nia, tu nia. For the teeth, as in multiple teeth altogether, you say jaw nia, jaw nia. In green Hmong, we say na, na. So again, for the classifier for one tooth, you'd say tu na, tu na. Or for multiple teeth, jaw na, jaw na. Sometimes the word for a fang is used even when referring to various different teeth. It doesn't really matter. It's just kind of thrown in there or not. And that is in white Hmong, gao nia, gao nia, and in green Hmong, gao na, gao na. Now let's talk about the different types of teeth. Hmong have them separated similarly to how they're separated in a dentist office. So we have the inside. So first of all, we have the gums on our list here. So for the gums in white Hmong, we'd say dai, bo nia, dai, bo nia. So bo nia is the word for gums, and dai is the classifier we use because it's a flat thing. In green Hmong, we would say glai, gli, bao na, glai, gli, bao na, and that's the green Hmong word. Okay, so as far as teeth are concerned, the front teeth, the incisors, those four teeth in the front, we would call that tu nia ta ming, tu nia ta ming. And then for green Hmong, tu na tang ming, tu na tang ming. The sharp tooth, the canine tooth, even though this has the word for dog in it, we would use it with a human too as well. We say in white Hmong, tu cao nia day, tu cao nia day, and in green Hmong, tu cao na lei, tu cao na lei. For premolars, this is maybe not a universal term, but it would be understood. You could say tu nia bua da, tu nia bua da, and in green Hmong, tu na bua dang, tu na bua dang. For the molars, in general, we could say tu nia bua, tu nia bua, or tu na bua, tu na bua, tu na bua. Now, wisdom teeth may be a little less universal of a phrase, but if we were to describe them or use a term that would hopefully be easy to understand, I found a couple. So the first one in white Hmong is tu nia cha, tu nia cha, or in green Hmong, tu na chang, tu na chang, and that would be like the additional or the added tooth. Also, I found in a couple of places written a term for specifically for the wisdom teeth, and that is tu nia lo yua, tu nia lo yua, tu nia lo yua, and then in green Hmong, tu na lo yua, tu na lo yua. So let's go on to the actual tooth itself. All of these terms are probably not particularly universal just because the Hmong language wasn't built in a doctor's office, in a dentist's office, so they don't have a lot of terms to describe different parts of, for example, the dentin or the pulp chamber, etc. But we can describe it. in a way that hopefully will be understood when we're talking about the tooth. So that's what we have here. The enamel, the outer coating or the outer protection of the teeth. We could say in White Hmong, tu cha nia cheng tao. Tu cha nia cheng tao. And that is like saying the harder outer surface of the tooth. Next, we have the dentin, which is the layer just below that. It takes up most of the tooth. And we could call that jiao cha nia mo, jiao cha nia mo, or in Green Hmong, jiao chang na mo, jiao chang na mo. Let me just go back real quick. I forgot to pronounce the Green Hmong for the enamel. So in Green Hmong, we call the enamel tu chang na cheng tao, tu chang na cheng tao. Okay, so back one more time for the dentin, White Hmong, jiao cha nia mo, jiao cha nia mo, or jiao chang na mo, jiao chang na mo. And literally translated, that's kind of like the soft bone of the tooth. So next we have the pulp chamber, that center reddish area, and we call that lu blau nia, or in Green Hmong, lu blau na. That's like saying the heart of the tooth. Finally, we have the root of the tooth, which we would call tu cha nia, and in Green Hmong, tu cha na. Sometimes when people wear dentures, the term they use for those is lo nia jua, or some people just say lo nia, like a mouth worth of teeth. I imply that they're fake, but I feel it's more helpful to say jua, the word for fake, so it's understood that we're talking about teeth added after the fact. And the Green Hmong would be lu na jua, and we would use that for dentures or partials, essentially fake added teeth. Another term I've heard patients use is tu nia da, or in Green Hmong, tu na tla. And that means essentially the literal term is like a lying tooth, but it implies it's a fake tooth. Now let's talk about some terms related to breath, the teeth, how we take care of the teeth, etc. So for starters, on the right-hand side, you'll see there cua nia, or cua na. Cua na is to brush the teeth. It means to scrub the teeth. For bad breath, or for good breath, good smelling breath, we would say zo ba ju ga, or in Green Hmong, zu bang ju gang. Let's just skip over to bad breath because it makes sense to go to that next. We would say zo ba ju pei, or in Green Hmong, zu bang ju pei. And we'll go back to the word for braces. I don't believe there's a universal term, but I've heard a number of interpreters describe it this way as jiao lao zhe nia, or in Green Hmong, jiao lao zhe na. And that's like saying metal, it's implied brackets, but metal to tighten the teeth, which is essentially what's happening. Okay, now let's talk about the toothbrush, toothpaste. So for toothpaste, we would say jiao chua cua nia, and Green Hmong, jiao chua cua na. To apply a toothpaste or to apply any type of topical medicine or anything that's topical that you kind of rub on or apply. So this is, we're talking about applying it to the toothbrush, not to your teeth, because that's scrubbing, right? But applying it to the toothbrush. We use the word bleng. So White Hmong would say bleng chua cua nia, and in Green Hmong, bleng chua cua na. For the actual toothbrush itself, it's called tu chua nia, tu chua nia. And in Green Hmong, tu chua na, tu chua na. And it's just, they change the classifier essentially, or you add a classifier and it becomes a noun, but that's what it is commonly called. For floss, I would say there's a way I've heard it that, in my opinion, doesn't sound right, but I've heard native speakers use it this way, so I added it. And then there's another way that, in my opinion, sounds more accurate. The only difference is one uses the word thread and one uses the word rope. Of course, you don't floss with rope, but nonetheless, some people describe it that way. So there we go, we have it. So the first one is thread, and in White Hmong, we'd say, 做手的年, 做手的年. In Green Hmong, 做手的拿, 做手的拿. Now the one with the rope is only different by one word again. 做罗的年, 做罗的年. And in Green Hmong, 做罗的拿, 做罗的拿. Next, the verb for to rinse out your mouth. We use yao for to rinse. It's the same in White and Green Hmong, but I added them in both colors just so you don't feel like you're getting robbed of one of the words there. But in any case, you pronounce it yao, kong yao, yao, kong yao. For mouthwash, we would just say the medicine to rinse out the mouth. So we say 脚戳要很要, 脚戳要很要. And again, same in green, same in white. Now let's talk about some conditions of the teeth and some other specific dental terms. I try to lean towards what Hmong has a way of describing, or how Hmong would describe it, as opposed to trying to find all of the dental terms you would use in a dental office and then translating them. So most of these, I would say, are more how a Hmong person would describe something as situations or things I've heard in interpreting encounters. So top left, we have tu nia long, tu nia long. Or in Green Hmong, tu na long, tu na long. Long means to slip something over the top of something like a glove or whatever. So with a crown or a cap, that's what they're doing. They're taking a fake tooth and putting it over, kind of sliding it onto the existing bone there. And then the verb for that, since long is a verb, we would say long nia, or long na. And that's to place a cap, place a crown. Oftentimes, the phrase used for a cavity, as in with tooth decay specifically, they use a phrase that means like a bug is eating the tooth, or a germ is eating the tooth, right? So in White Hmong, we would say ka no nia, and in Green Hmong, we'd say kang no na. Loose tooth, we could say nia song, or na song in Green Hmong. You could also say like nia o zho, your tooth is moving. O zho means to move or shake. Or na o zhu. I don't have that on there, but just so you know, there's another way of saying it. If there's specifically a hole in the tooth, as opposed to just a cavity like decay, but a hole, I've heard some people say nia to ho, and then in Green Hmong we say na to ho. I've heard this expression referring to teeth that are thinning, like the bone is wasting away, and it gets thinner in the middle like this. Hmong have a specific term to refer to something that's wider on the top and bottom and thin in the middle. So the expression was used niang kaya, and the Green Hmong nang ka. To have stained tooth or colored tooth, discoloration in the tooth, we could say nia chua. And then Green Hmong na chua. For a tooth that is chipped, we could say nia ki, or na ki. For a tooth that is broken, a couple of terms. nia lo, or Green Hmong, na lu, or you could say nia da, or na tla. For debris in the tooth, this image shows a mild debris, but it could be anything stuck in the tooth. You could say, and again, debris is a noun, so we use a classifier, jaw, for multiple pieces. Jaw or nia, or in Green Hmong, jaw or na. To pull a tooth, we could say to nia, and in Green Hmong, tu na. Now let's go down to the last line. For teeth that are kind of coming up, like a children's tooth or a baby's tooth coming up, growing out, you could say tua nia. And in Green Hmong, tua na. To fill a tooth, you could say chu nia, or Green Hmong, chu na. It's the verb would be used to fill like a pothole or something like that. I added this term. It can be used for many things, but when you go to a dentist, you will probably hear this term or use this term, and that is tia, or ta. And it refers to fear or expectation in the fear or phobia in the expectation of pain. Like something's going to happen and you get freaked out about it. It can also refer to tickling or some sort of irritation that's similar to tickling. So the idea of having a dentist drill coming close to your tooth, this would be the word in Hmong you use to describe that feeling you're feeling right then. Next, for grinding the teeth, we have zho nia, or in Green Hmong, zhu na. And we use the verb zho or zhu twice to imply it's happening multiple times. It's happening a lot. Finally, for an implant, if you're going to implant a tooth, and this is an example of you specifically focusing on how Hmong would describe it, which is by means of a verb, they say you would plant a tooth. So they say jaw nia, or jaw na, and that would be an implant, or specifically not an implant, but to implant or plant a tooth. I hope those help get a bigger picture of the dental vocabulary in the Hmong language, what is available, what is not, how Hmong would describe teeth, the anatomy, the illnesses, etc. related. So I hope you enjoyed it and benefited from it. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.